Back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Calhoun's. Basketball season is just now heating up as the Vols fight for the SEC title. Be sure to watch all the action at one of the 9 area Calhoun's locations. Atmosphere, ribs, barbecue, craft beer, and more. Calhoun's. Atmosphere, they've got great atmosphere, but for some reason that just struck me as they actually have oxygen. So anyway, there's atmosphere. It's not like one of those Martian restaurants. Okay, not to jump off any bandwagons here. We knew Tennessee was going to lose some games, but take a look at the SEC title race. Tennessee 11-1, LSU 11-1, Kentucky 10-2. Keep in mind, this is not a round robin schedule. Everybody plays the same schedule here. But looking down the stretch at what's left, I've added it up. Tennessee's opponents, 41-31. They've got 3 of them on the road. Kentucky, their opponent, 39-33. They've got 3 of them on the road. For some reason, I put the wrong at the top there. LSU, though, their remaining opponents are just 32-40, and they only have 2 of those on the road. Guys, if I were a betting man, this weekend, this next Saturday's game, Tennessee at LSU is huge. But if I were a betting man, I think I'd put my money on LSU at the moment. Thoughts on that? Who are you going with as your SEC favorite at this point in the run?
I tell you what, I'm going to go with Kentucky, just simply because after watching them play, despite the fact they lost LSU, if they can keep playing the way they did last night, and they've played pretty well now for, what is it, 3 weeks in a row? I guess they've been on about a 6-7 game tear, with the exception of LSU loss.
They've played pretty well basically since they were clobbered at Duke, and everybody wrote them off ridiculously.
So I would probably go with Kentucky.
Kentucky's been down that. They're used to it. They're playing awfully well right now. I would not rule them out, but I'm not ruling Tennessee out either.
No, I'm not either.
I just look at the schedule.
Yeah.
The schedule, you have to favor LSU, don't you? And they've got their next 3 at home. Yeah. They've got a game, they've got that huge upset at Kentucky. They've got a game over Kentucky, so they would have that. I got to like LSU.
I would be a little bit more LSU positive if LSU hadn't had kind of, I don't want to say a lucky streak.
They're 11-1.
They're 11-1, but yeah, I mean, but when
you got
we've talked about before, when you're winning a bunch of games in overtime, lots of times that comes back to you at some point too.
Yeah. And they had to have that furious comeback against not a good Missouri team.
Yeah, they were down like 14 against Missouri with 2:14 left and won it. But they figured out a way to win. That's why when you look at the schedule, it's hard not to favor LSU. I look at that and I think LSU's got 2 games that would be more, I guess, losable. One is Tennessee and the other one when they go to Alabama. They typically don't play that well at Alabama. So those are the 2. Other than that, I think they run the table.
I think they could lose at Florida. I think they'd be favored at Florida, but I think that's another possible loss is at Florida.
Have to, if you're naming Coach of the Year right now, if you did it today, it'd have to be Will Wade, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be.
Without question.
Based on where they were picked. And Florida plays like it did against, was that Alabama yesterday? Yeah, if they play like that, they'd be a tough out.
Now, let me turn this around just for a second here. All right? Before the SEC season started, we looked at it and we put up the schedule and we told everybody this is going to be a backloaded schedule. We said that 6 weeks ago now. It is. We also told you that over the last 6 years since the league expanded to an 18-game schedule, the average SEC champion is 15-3. And I said, would we take that? Everybody agreed.
Yes.
I'd take 15-3 at the start of the SEC season.
Yes.
Here's the issue. 3 losses over the course of 18 games, I think the fan base lives with that. Now that you started 11-0, 3 losses over the last 7 games, I think it's freak out time in Knoxville. I think people lose their minds. If you lose 3 of your last 7, I thought you started to see some craziness last night, but I think you lose 3 of your last 7. I think that's going to have some panic in the streets.
That's where you come in. You have to calm them down, John.
Yeah.
No, I whip up the frenzy. No, do you agree
with you
100%. I think losing 3 of your last 7, even though the reality is it's still 3 out of 18, but just the way the schedule was loaded, your losses are going to make it look worse. Whereas they're choking. It's like, no, they just played the better part of their schedule at the back
John,
end.
to your point, last year, remember Tennessee started 0-2 in the SEC, correct?
Right.
So this year it's been pretty much just the opposite.
Yeah.
And that felt a lot different and a lot better if you do go into a little tailspin here. But there's still a lot of basketball to be played, and it's going to be about the tournament.
Chuck just said they're going into a tailspin. I heard him. All right, when we come back, well, let me tell you, what is our number one concern about this Rick Barnes team at this point? That's a little later in the show. We'll tell you what our biggest worry is. But next, Jeremy Pruitt does a surprising reshuffle on his coaching staff. We'll discuss all those moves, and there were plenty of them. Come on back on the Sports Source.